Cowboy Fast Draw, we do our best to use period correct holsters. These are designs that actually existed in the Old West. There are basically two. There's a Mexican loop, like this right here. It's a Mernicle 5, number 5, and it's a very great design. I've used it for many years successfully. You can tell what a Mexican loop holster is because the gun belt goes directly through the loop in a one-piece holster design. This is how they actually built them in the 1800s. Most of the holsters you see in Hollywood movies, you know, those are Buscadero rigs. And those never actually existed in the Old West in any knowledge we can find. And so Mexican loop holster is a period correct holster. So is a Slim Jim. A Slim Jim holster was very popular. Now this is the one with, this is a shootist holster, 7.5-inch barrel gun comes out of that. Now both of these holsters actually have an exposed rawhide liner. Cuts down on the friction of the draw. Pretty important with the Slim Jim holster, more so than the shorter holster and gun. Also, most of the manufacturers that make the standard holsters, they still put a ply of rawhide between the two plies of leather just to keep the holster, because what you want to do, you want that holster to have just enough looseness on the firearm to where you can actually cock that hammer with the gun while you're drawing it, and that cylinder can turn. That's very important to know. There's no retention test in Cowboy Fast Draw, but according to CFDA holster rules, the gun must fit the holster, so there can't be any excessive movement within that holster with the gun. What's important to know is we have to follow rules in the Cowboy Fast Draw. A lot of them have to do with your gun and your holster, obviously, because we're trying to keep the competition real even between the competitors. And so this one has, for safety purposes, a deflector shield on the bottom of it. Mernicles invented that process of building a deflector shield right into the holster. Now almost every holster manufacturer is following their lead on that, and it's a good thing to have. What every shooter must know is to keep the competition even and fair for everybody involved. Your gun and holster must have an equipment check before every major event. And so here's what's important to know. When we're talking about how low the holster can be cut and everything around the gun, that one's pretty, it's 1.25 inches. It cannot exceed 1.25 inches, that front cut below where the hammer contacts the frame of the gun right there. See that? Also, this side of the holster cannot be lower than 3 inches below the top of your gun belt. All right? So those are two of the main measurements that are taken. And the next measurement is because everybody wants forward cant on their holsters when they're really pulling back and trying to shoot fast. So we limit how much angle you can have on your holster when you start out standing straight up. That cannot be more than 20 degrees. And that's done at equipment check when you're standing straight up, wearing your holster like you're going to wear it in a competition. But when the shooters are on the firing line, they're likely to drop into a competitive shooting stance. We don't measure all the angles at that point. We do it during equipment check. So, you know, they can get into their, and some of them lean down pretty far. Please refer to cowboyfastdraw.com to access Gunslinger's Guidelines for more information on holsters.